Welcome to Invictus Porsche. My name is Basheer Zaheer. We've got a Porsche 911. It's the 991.1 Carrera S, and it is an extremely thrilling car for many reasons. One of these being in 2011 when it was launched at the Frankfurt Motor Show in October. This was the third time that Porsche redesigned and created a 911 from the ground up, and Porsche has done an absolutely incredible job. This is also finished in an immensely good spec in terms of optional items. The first owner spent £16,000, and throughout this video and throughout this test drive that I'm just about to do now, I'll take you through everything you need to know. Getting into any Porsche 911 is special, and one especially that is as well spec'd as this, and it has all my favorite things that I would want in a sports Porsche 911. And roof open or roof closed. Let's leave it open for a little while. Parking sensors off. What we will do initially is just drive this in the standard mode without switching on the sport or the PASM or the sports exhaust. And what I will do is just on this little run up, actually, let's switch on sports, PASM, and enjoy it. The sound created by the sports exhaust combined with the 6-cylinder Boxer naturally aspirated engine is beautiful. This has the 3.8 litre engine which produces 395 brake horsepower at 7,600 RPM and 440 Newton meters of torque at 5,600 RPM. In terms of the 0 to 62 miles per hour, because of the Doppelkupplungsgetriebe, the dual clutch PDK transmission, it does that 0 to 62 in 4.4 seconds. And this is now the real test of the benefit of having the PDCC and the PSM, because the amount of torque and the amount of normally the wheel spin that you would get in a standard 911 without PDCC would be a lot greater than something like this, because it just handles and is a lot more stable, especially around corners and just pulling off in situations like this. Beautiful burble you get, and that is second gear at 35 miles an hour. Let's go one more time. I hope the microphones are really capturing the essence of the beautiful sound. To me, it's music to my ears here in the driver's seat. And sitting in these seats, these are the sport seats, 14-way adaptive electric memory seats. They're also heated. The PDCC analyzing the data that comes in from the PSM, the Porsche damper control, and then the PDCC system analyzes that data, and then according to that will give in the necessary feedback to each wheel, so all four wheels work to keep this in terms of having a very responsive and a very stable despite the fact that we're doing these bends at about 60 miles per hour. And this reassurance that you get isn't normally there on the 911s without PDCC. And it isn't just a gimmick, but it transforms the handling and the drive of the 991 completely. And personally, I think from the ground up. Now I think in a short test drive like this, there's so much to cover. There's so much technical information to discuss and to talk about. But one of the softest and a comfort features that I like the most is the fact this has cruise control. Because, you know, when you are driving to the south of France and you're going to be covering a bit of motorway, or you're going to the south of Wales or to the north coast of Scotland, it's handy having cruise control, because you could just, you know, fly through that motorway miles without it being backbreaking. And I think it's a nice key spec. Now this steering wheel, this is still the leather steering wheel. It's an optional. It's got this beautiful PDK bezel. Buttons wise here, you've got all the necessary controls like Sport Plus, PSM, the sports exhaust. You've got the sunroof, which I will shut in a minute, just to kind of show you the difference between when it's open and when it's closed. And you've got the later PCM that were introduced only in the 991.1s in 2011. So that's got Bluetooth connectivity both for your music and for your telephone calls. And it's also got DAB radio. As promised, we'll close this. And with these buttons on the steering wheel, I find it very similar to almost as if I'm driving a manual car, other than that hand movement, you know, that engagement, it's still there. I still have to watch my revs. I still have to watch how far I can push this car in that second gear before I should be, you know, pressing the button to go into the third gear. Alternatively, I could also do it using the gear selector, you know, push it down into that minus button goes a gear, push it up, it goes up into a third gear. Just going to put it in neutral and let you hear the sound. And it is this that you get in the sports exhaust. And in terms of the sweet spot of a Porsche 911, this is ultimately my favorite, probably one of my newest favorite Porsche 911s, purely because these were the last of the naturally aspirated Porsche 911s. I absolutely love the 997 generation because there were a certain level of simplicity, a character to it. But ultimately, when you want to be doing long journeys, you want to be putting on, you know, certain amount of miles, and you want, as you know, at least partly a car that could fill in that void of a GT Touring. Grand Tourer, then the 991 is the car to have. The driving, in terms of what you get in terms of handling, the feedback, it is in no way, form or shape compromised. I think it is enhanced in the 991.1 significantly. And one of the biggest significant improvements is the 991.1, as a matter of fact, is a lighter Porsche 911 as opposed to the 997.2, and that's because they've used better metal alloys, better metal composites, and the use of aluminium is used throughout the vehicle a lot more. So surprisingly, this is maybe an inch or 1.5 inch wider and 2 inches longer. So when you look at it, you're like, gosh, this is a bigger car, so it must lose some of its 911 character. But as a matter of fact, it's a lighter car overall, so it doesn't lose that character that we'd like to think. And my favorite kind of a thing about the Porsche 911s have always been the kind of community that you get yourself involved in. And that's because the Porsche 911 hasn't changed in terms of that silhouette, in terms of that design, as much as some of the other sports cars have. And I think it just brings in a very thrilling experience overall to the nature of what the Porsche 911 has to offer us. I mean, from 1963 now to 2022, ultimately every generation of the Porsche 911 is so recognizable, and overall you wouldn't think they're a different car. It's still those three numbers, 911. Now let's just spark it up and talk about the exterior and the interior spec and some of the mechanical spec that I've already covered in my test drive, and we'll cover it one more time just in case. If you are looking to buy this vehicle here in the UK, it is available for sale as of 7th December 2022. So if you've got any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Now, from a spec point of view, this has an absolutely incredible specification, both on the exterior and the interior. And starting from the fact this has the PDLS headlights, the Porsche Dynamic Light System. Additionally, it also has the light package, which means you've got the exterior and interior auto dimming side door mirrors. You've got the open and close and tilt sunroof as well, which is great to have, especially in the summer. And these are the 20-inch sport design alloys. And in terms of mechanical specification items, this is where those £16,000 worth of extra optional items really come in handy, and come into completely transforming the overall drive of this Porsche 911. And one of these really big items is the Porsche Dynamic Chassis Control, the PDCC. That combined with PSM works incredibly well, and in terms of the responsiveness, the comfort and the overall handling, in terms of these two components working with each other, completely transforms the ride of any Porsche 911. And a very big spec item, which is nice to have from a sound point of view, is the Porsche Sports exhaust system on this. You press a button, the valves open up, as I've shown you on my test drive. And above all, a really big spec item, definitely from another handling and a responsive point of view, which makes the Porsche 911 very, snappy and responsive and very agile and just sublime to drive, especially around corners on countryside roads like this. Is the Sports Chrono Plus package, where you get the chrono watch and a Sport Plus button. Let me just show you the inside of the vehicle. And this center console here, where you see the Sport Plus, the PASM button, the three buttons for the tilt open sunroof there, the sports exhaust, the Chrono Sport Plus package. You've also got the optional leather sport design steering wheel. It's not the sport steering wheel, but it's the sport design steering wheel with the PDK bezel there at the top. You've got the cruise control, as well as the 14-way adaptive electric memory sport seats. They're also heated. And in terms of the interior finish of the leather interior, this has got the extended leather, two-tone leather package with the black, especially the dash, the steering wheel, and the platinum grey interior. And that platinum grey works incredibly well with the Porsche Platinum Silver metallic color on the exterior, because in terms of a color, that and a GT Silver is part of Porsche's heritage, part of their history, because in the 50s and some of the cars in the early 60s, this was the color that Porsche was known for in terms of their racing livery. So I think it's an absolutely eye-catching of a color. And above all, what makes this color so outstanding and beautiful to look at is that metallic finish. And depending on the light, you kind of see a different tone to this color. And above all, it's had ceramic coating, which means the car stays clean for longer, and above all, it just looks shiny all the time, despite the fact that since yesterday I've driven this 200 miles. I haven't washed it, and it still looks absolutely great. And what impresses me and what makes me have this throbbing heart of mine when it comes to the Porsche 911s is the silhouette. I think it is just incredible when you're looking at one of these, especially just throughout those drone footage of ours. That silhouette and that seamless transition from one model to another model, and every cycle in terms of the iteration that Porsches normally have, whether that be a 3-year or 4 or 5-year cycle, I think it always looks the same, but it's just a much more evolved car overall from every angle, from every perspective. And what lastly impresses me mostly about this vehicle is I wouldn't think that this is something that is now circa 12 years old. It's got a full Porsche main dealer service history. The number of owners are still quite low, 4 former keepers. The last time it's had a main dealer service was at Porsche Centre Swindon in 2022, February 2022. So overall, it's been very well looked after. It's just gone through an MOT. All the discs, the pads, the tyres, overall the car is in an absolutely fantastic, ready condition for the next owner. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Stay tuned for future content. Don't forget to subscribe, and you watching our videos helps us a long way in terms of raising money for these crucial projects that we're doing in Afghanistan through our UK registered charity. So once again, really appreciate it. And this channel brings in roughly £150 every 28 days, which goes a long way in terms of currency exchange when it's sent over to Afghanistan for the project work, especially the essential water well projects that we're doing right now, because you would like to, ideally, when we depart from this planet, leave a legacy. And I think that's the whole point, rather than just sell cars, take your money and wish you a goodbye. So I hope to life there's a bit more than just this. Thank you one more time for watching the videos. See you in future content, and take care. Bye-bye.